Hey family, it's Danielle. Today we are going to sit down and do a marriage chat and just chat it up about marriage. I wanted to share with you guys what it's like to run a business with your significant other. In my case, my husband.
The snob life, the homeschooling life, the bar life, the non-traditional life, the family life,
telling it how it is, life outside the box.
And if you don't know what that means,
It's the non-traditional mommy.
Before we dive into the video, if you're new here, hi, my name is Danielle and I am the non-traditional mommy. And on this channel, we do marriage chats. We talk about parenting, homeschooling, reviews, and all other sorts of things. So if that interests you, we would love for you to join the non-traditional family and hit the subscribe button. To the rest of my family, you guys already know you are the MVPs and I love you bunches. Now, let's talk about being married and running a business together. One of the things that a lot of people are always saying to myself and my husband is how we are together 24/7. And for most people, that's alarming. It's like you guys do everything together. And so in their minds, that surely creates tension. And so we genuinely enjoy being together and being around each other. We are friends first and always have been. So our friendship is rock solid. I would also say that when we were operating strictly as husband and wife, there was bumps and hardships and valleys and all of those things that came along with that, obviously so, but we had kind of a clear working relationship, if that makes sense. When we became business partners, that opened up an entire new world, an entire new realm of a world. It challenged us and continues to challenge us in so many ways that we could have never expected, planned, or prepared for. I don't think that there was any type of premarital counseling or while we were married counseling that we could have had to gear us up for running a business together. Running a business together requires a different type of communication, and it requires a different type of understanding. So I want to talk about the challenges and then ways to possibly try to combat those challenges. So let's just start with the number one thing. The number one thing with running a business with your significant other is separating work life from love life. So what I mean by that is understanding when you are in work mode and understanding when you are in relationship mode. And so a lot of times those two things can bleed over into one another, meaning I am mad at you about a business decision that you made, or maybe something we were discussing business wise, and I take that frustration and anger over into the relationship versus being able to clearly separate the two, or talking about business 24/7 because it's just a part of our life. So knowing how to separate those two is crucial. And early on for me and my husband, I would be mad at him about a decision he may have made with the business, and I would just take that anger, and we could be doing something like cooking dinner or talking about the kids, and my frustration from work would bleed over here, and it's like, wait, What did I do? But what that ultimately could do is, I don't like the way you do business. I don't like you as a person. I don't like you as a husband. This isn't going to work. Versus being able to separate, like, no, he's a great husband. He's a great father. He's a great person. He just made this decision that I didn't like business wise, or vice versa, the same with me. And so us understanding that the two don't connect, that they don't go together. You can be mad at your coworker, but that doesn't mean that they're not a great person or possibly a great friend or something like that. So having to separate those two things. And for us, the best way to do that was to have strict business hours and to state very clearly that we were having a business meeting. So now what we'll do is say, hey, can I schedule a business meeting with you tomorrow at 9 o'clock? Okay. We schedule it like it's an actual business meeting, and then sit down and discuss business in that meeting for however long. Let's say it's an hour and a half. 10 o'clock, 10:30. Okay, business is shut down. We are now in parenting or family mode. And so whatever happened in that meeting that I didn't like, or things that were said, I'm going to revisit that in the next meeting, or when we start talking about business again. But right now, business is shut down. So we are not talking about business. I can't be mad that you vetoed something that I wanted to do, or whatever the case may be. I have to separate that from family life. So that's the number one thing. The number one thing. It is so hard to do. So hard to do. The second thing is, of course, communication. Communication bleeds over in everything when it comes to relationship, whether it's parenting, whether it's finances, whether it's sex, whether it's friendships. It just bleeds over. If you don't have communication skills, it can affect so many different areas of your relationship. So when it comes to being business partners, you have to know how to effectively communicate, and how to effectively communicate as business partners. So you can't bring an issue from the marriage into the business meeting. So in other words, let's use finances for an example. If your significant other has an Amazon shopping addiction in their personal life, and you're frustrated by the amount of money that they're spending on Amazon, and then you go into a business meeting to discuss budgeting, and they're talking about, the budget, or you guys are talking about the budget, your communication can't be, well, it's not like you know how to budget anyway, because how many Amazon boxes did we get today? Like that is not going to work. That's doing the first thing. A, you're bleeding the two together. And B, you're not effectively communicating. You're not effectively communicating about the topic, or the topic at hand, which is budgeting for your business. The Amazon boxes in the personal life has absolutely nothing to do with the budgeting for the business side. And if they do, if this person really does struggle with budgeting and money, then you have to know how to effectively communicate that to them, where they are understanding that this isn't about our personal finances or a personal attack on you. This is literally about our business, and the fact that we may need to bring in a third party to help us with budgeting, or maybe budgeting isn't your lane, that's more my lane, whatever the case it may be, but you have to be able to effectively communicate that. Number 3 is having clear lanes. Clear lanes, clear job descriptions, clear roles, clear responsibilities, whatever it is. You can't have 2 CEOs, 2 secretaries, 2 finance advisors, 2 this, 2 that. Like, there needs to be a clear role and clear division of who is doing what, where, when, and how. And then actually assigning those titles to the person. Now, here is the kicker with the clear roles. You can assign a role to, each other. Let's say one of you guys are operating as the manager, HR, employee kind of outreach. Like, there's one of you that deals strictly with the managing of the people that you hire and fire and all of that good stuff. So if one of you have that clear role, and then you're in a meeting and you're discussing hiring, or you're discussing letting go of someone, or discussing roles and responsibility of the employees, sure, you might have a suggestion, or sure, you might have an idea that you want to propose, or you might think something needs to be changed, but it has to be understood that when it's all said and done, it is the person who that is their role, for them to make that final call, to implement whatever it is that was decided. They figure out how to implement it. Like, that is their role. That's their responsibility. That's their lane. So you have to be okay with stepping out of that lane. So having clear roles, and then having the ability to fall back and allow that person to execute their role. So for example, my husband, he deals with all things maintenance for our business. So anytime something needs to be repaired, or looked at, or we need to call a person in, our team will send him a maintenance request, and then he looks over the maintenance request. Sometimes he'll go in and make sure that we actually do need to call somebody in to have it repaired, or whatever the case may be. And then the way it works is, so he will get this maintenance request, and because I am over budgeting, he will, if it turns out that we do need this to be repaired, or something like that, then a request is submitted to the budgeting team, and then I either approve that budget, or work it into the next quarter, or whatever the case may be, and let him know. So that's how it works. And so by staying in our lanes, it can't be that he submits this maintenance repair, and then I come back and say, well, are you sure it needs to be repaired? Well, can't that wait? Or It's like, okay, this is a repair that he's saying we need. I need to figure out if it's in the budget this quarter or next quarter, and how it can get paid. And then when I then submit back to him when that can get repaired, he can't throw a fit and say, well, we need it done now, and we don't have the money, and what's going on? Like, it has to be understood that that's her lane, and this is what we're saying, and that's how it goes. So having those clear roles where we're both not trying to do the same thing is definitely key. The next and final thing when it comes to running a business with your spouse, and that is trust. So having trust is so important when you're running a business with your significant other, because you have to trust that they're communicating effectively. You have to trust that they're making the right decisions in their lane. You have to give over a level of trust that you don't necessarily have to give when you are just husband and wife. So when you're just husband and wife, and you each have your own jobs, or they have their job, or however that's worked out, when they go to work, you're not you're not concerned that they're doing their job. Like, you're not at home twiddling your thumbs and like, oh my gosh, are they going to get fired today? Are they doing their job? You trust that they're doing their job. You're not worried about what they're doing. Sometimes you're even disinterested in what they're doing, but they come home from work. You might say, hey, how was your day? They tell you, you move on with life. You don't banter or interrogate them about what did they get done at work for that day. You just trust that they did their job. It's not your job to micromanage them, so to speak. And so when you run a business together, it can be very easily, I know, because I was a victim of this one big time. It can become very easy to want to micromanage and want to know what they did all day. Like, you want a full report of what all they got done. And if they're out in the field doing something, you're like, are you doing this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you get this done? And you're questioning and you're interrogating. And it's like, can you just trust that I'm doing my job? We agreed upon a role. We agreed upon a responsibility. Now you need to just once again fall back and trust that I am doing my job. Because at the end of the day, you guys, when you're running a business together and it is your sole source of income, trust and believe both of you guys, chances are, more than likely, are doing your parts to make sure that this thing stays afloat, because you both know this is how we eat. This is how we function. So having that level of trust to be able to just believe that they're doing their job is probably I would say, so you have that number one on the front end, which is separating work from life. And then on the back end, the things that are like holding this thing together is the trust part. And then in the middle, you have all of these other little mechanisms that need to work together for it to all run smoothly. So I think those are the biggest things when it comes to running a business with your spouse. And I think even if you're not running a business with your spouse, these key things can work when it comes to just navigating your marriage with your spouse. Parenting, maybe separating parenting from relationship. There's a time when we talk about the kids and there's a time when we don't. We have clear roles, we have clear responsibilities, we have clear lanes. I trust that you're doing your part. You trust that I'm doing my part. We're not stepping on toes. We have effective communication when it comes to how we want to parent and being on one accord. So all of these things can apply in your marriage as well. It doesn't just necessarily have to be about running a business together. However, when you run a business together, these things are critical. There are a ton of other things that come along with running a business with your spouse as well. But these are just a few that I feel like are on the forefront of running a business with your significant other. So I will say that for us, it has been a road of growth for us, a road of growth. Our marriage has changed significantly when we became business partners. It was for a short time there, very, very hard, very, very rocky. And it was like, are we about to call this thing quits, like the whole everything. And we really had to learn how to redefine our marriage and redefine our relationship. Once we got to that part, then it became, how do we continue to stay connected as friends and as husband and wife and as lovers, and not allow the business side to run us and run us like crazy. So, and then there is also the navigating of being together all the time. You know, we work together, we parent together, we live together, we eat together, we do everything together. And so there became that whole dynamic too of how do we operate always together. So it was a rocky road for us, but learning those things is what saved us and gotten us this far. The road is still very hard. We're still climbing this thing, especially as we expand our business. New challenges come about, new things come about that we learn as we expand, as we hire, and different things like that. We are constantly having to evolve, constantly having to revisit how does this work and all of that good stuff. So being flexible, let's add that in there. Being flexible is also very important as well. So that's what I got for you guys for this Monday marriage chat. If you guys have any more detailed questions about us being married and running a business together, feel free to leave those below, and we'll sit down together and do like a Q&A and answer those questions and talk about what it's like being married and running a business together. So feel free to leave those below if that is something that you guys would like to see us do. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button for more marriage chats and challenges and things like that for the rest of my family. Once again, I love you guys. Thank you for rooting us on as you've watched us build this business together. So thank you for that. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.